Welcome to another video. You've got Mr. Everything English, and today we are moving on with English language paper number 2. Now, I just want to address 3 things: the live stream, Macbeth, Romeo and Juliet, and unseen poetry. Number 1, guys, the live stream for English language paper 2. When shall I do it? Shall I do it the night before the English language exam, or shall I do it 2 nights before the English language exam? Which one do you prefer? Because some people say, guys, night before because it's fresh, but some people like it to be done 2 nights before because you can watch the content, you can read over it, well, not read over it, you can watch over it, and you can kind of revise using it. Let me know which one you prefer, guys. Whichever one is said more in the comments, that's what I'll do. Number 2, guys, will I be doing content for English literature? Yes, I am, guys. We are going to be looking at unseen poetry. That video should be out over the next coming days, and we will be looking at Macbeth, and we will be looking at Romeo and Juliet. So, guys, please do keep an eye out for that content. And finally, guys, finally, for those of you who watched the Q&A, lots of love from me to you, because thank you for the lovely comments. Now, guys, today we power on with English language paper 2, question number 2. Now, this question, guys, is an awkward question because for this question, we are writing a summary. We're not analyzing language, we're not analyzing structure. Now, as English students, we're kind of left scratching our head because if we can't analyze language and if we can't analyze structure, what are we supposed to talk about? Because that's all we seem to do when it comes to English language exams. This question, guys, we are looking at comprehension and we're looking at writing a summary. We're not analyzing language, we're not analyzing effects. We are simply summarizing source A and we're summarizing source B. Now, obviously, guys, when I go over how to answer it, it'll make sense as to what you talk about. But let's go over the bones of this question. It's an 8-mark question. For an 8-mark question, you are spending approximately 10 minutes. And for this question, guys, you are looking to write 2 paragraphs. 1 paragraph on source A and 1 paragraph on source B. That is how I have taught this question my entire teaching career. Now, you are looking to write a summary of either similarities or differences. They can ask either or depending upon their mood. And you are looking at the whole of source A and you are looking at the whole of source B. Those are the bones of this particular question. Finally, guys, what paragraph structure will you use? Because you can't use Peel, you can't use Peter, you can't even use Pretzel, because those structures involve you analyzing language, analyzing structure, analyzing methods. For this particular question, guys, I said it in my English literature live stream. I said, if you want to pee all over the paper, go for it. I was being sarcastic, but this time, guys, I'm being serious. You are going to pee all over the paper when it comes to English language paper 2, question number 2. Now, what kind of P am I talking about? I'm talking about P-E-I, E-I, E-I. Point, evidence, infer, evidence, infer, evidence, infer. That is what you are aiming for both of the paragraphs. Now, again, you might be saying, sir, what are you talking about? Again, when I go over the question on the board, it will become crystal clear. Now, guys, if you are looking for the paper that I'm going to be going through, I will have it linked in the description. So feel free to follow along as I go through the papers. This will be the paper that I will be using for question number 2, question number 3, question number 4. So it is in the description. Click on it and you might want to work alongside me. All right, guys, now I'm going to switch to the board and let's go over how you work yourselves through paper 2, question number 2. Here we have paper 2, question number 2, and let's go through the question as a whole. So, guys, the question reads, you need to refer to source A and source B for this question. So we are looking at the entire source A and the entire source B. And the question reads as follows. Both writers are accompanied by another person in their adventure, Simon in source A and Marius in source B. Use details from both sources to write a summary of what you understand about the differences between the 2 companions, Simon and Marius. So, guys, we are writing a summary of the differences between Simon and Marius. Now, I've been over this just now, guys, but quickly, guys, 8 marks. So we are looking to produce 2 paragraphs and we have 10 minutes per question. Now, earlier, guys, I spoke about doing P's. P-E-I, E-I, E-I. Now, what do I mean? So, paragraph 1, we will do it on source A. paragraph 2, we will do it on source B. Now, because we are looking at differences in between the two paragraphs, we may have a statement such as on the other hand. This will signify a difference. Now, what is the structure of each of the paragraphs? For paragraph 1, guys, we are doing P, E, I, E, I, E, and I. And for paragraph 2, we are also doing P, E, I, E, I, E, and I. Now, this stands for point, evidence, infer, evidence, infer, evidence, infer. And this is what it stands for, guys, on both sides. Now, I'm going to draw a line straight through there. I'm going to draw a line straight through there. Now, the reason I'm going to draw a line straight through there is because of the simple reason. All of us, guys, all of us have to do point, evidence, infer, evidence, infer. So, for example, you might say that Simon is presented as being a, what is it, companion? Simon is presented as being a terrible companion. That's your point about Simon. You're now going to summarize how Simon is the worst companion in the world. Now, if you just have one quote, that's not enough for a summary. You want to have two quotes, and if you're able to fit it into the time, you want to go for a third one. You have 5 minutes per paragraph. Ideally, you want to do 1, 2, and 3. That's what we're aiming for. But everyone, as a minimum, is aiming to do 2 quotes. Now, when it says inference, inference is you analyzing what we learn about Simon from the quote and how this links to our point. But that is how we do 1 paragraph, and that is how we do 1 paragraph. As a minimum, everyone must do that. And then this depends upon your timing and if you can fit it in. Now, do we have to bounce back and forth? Do we have to bounce back and forth? No, we don't. We are simply writing a summary of how source A presents the other person and how source B presents the other person. And we know that we are looking at differences. So that's the timings, 2 paragraphs, paragraph 1, paragraph 2, that's the structure. And now we go to the source. So we know that in source A, we're looking at Simon. Guys, we know that in source A, we are looking at Simon. Now, let's just have a look at this source. Now, this one, guys, it should be easy to find our quotes. The reason it should be easy to find our quotes is because normally when we look for quotes, what do we look for? We look for language devices, we look for structural devices, or we look for adjectives and verbs, something to analyze. But we don't need none of that. Guys, we don't need none of that. We just need quotes that we can use to describe what the question is asking for. And here it's asking us to talk about Simon and Marius. So let's look at some quotes, guys, that we can use. Quote number 1, guys. Simon let me slide faster than I had expected, and despite my cries of alarm and pain, he had kept the pace of descent going. All right, that's my first quote that I will use. I will give my point in a second. I'm looking for Simon's cross. Howling and screaming for Simon to stop, achieve nothing. That will be my second quote. And now I need a third one. Okay, Simon had already started to climb down. I looked up but failed to make out where he was. All right, those are my 3 pieces of evidence. Guys, these are my 3 pieces of evidence. We have evidence over here, we have evidence over here, and we have evidence over here. Now, I must now think of a point that connects these 3. I must now, guys, think of a point that connects these 3. So in the first quote, Simon let this person slide down the mountain despite her cries and despite her pain that she was suffering. Secondly, no matter how much she howled and no matter how much she screamed, Simon didn't really care. And finally, Simon didn't really help. He didn't hang around. He started to climb down and she looked, but she couldn't make out where he was. So how do these 3 quotes present Simon? These 3 quotes present Simon, guys, as selfish, Guys, these three quotes present Simon as selfish and as unhelpful. That is the point that I am using. Simon is selfish and Simon is unhelpful. So if we go back over here, guys, if you go back over here, I've got my point, I've got my evidence, I've got my evidence, I've got my evidence. Now, when I start writing up my answer, I now simply need to explain how these three quotes present Simon as being selfish and unhelpful, because I'm summarizing Simon's characteristics in source A. Now, I already know that I am looking at differences. Therefore, now that I'm looking at source B, guys, now that I'm looking at source B, which is about Marius, I now know that I am looking for the opposite. So if Simon is unhelpful and Simon is selfish, Marius better be super helpful and Marius better be super selfless. Now let's have a look, guys. Let's have a look and let's see what we can find. All right, there we go, guys. I've got one already. Marius had kindly put my rug in a corner on the floor. That's perfect. Marius is really helpful. Marius literally pulled me up like a parcel. Oh, Marius, you hero. Marius is making sure that this person is not left behind. Forget Simon, we got Marius. Let's see. All right, Mademoiselle called Marius calmly and obediently off I went. Guys, this Marius, what a guy. He is literally super helpful. In quote number one, he's putting the rug out for this person. In quote number two, he's helping the person up, literally pulling like a parcel. And number three, look how kind he is, Mademoiselle. Wow. And then he calls calmly and she obeys because she trusts this man. Guys, perfect. Marius is the complete opposite. Guys, Marius is the complete opposite of Simon. So I've got my three pieces of evidence. And what's my point? Whereas Simon is selfish, guys, whereas Simon is selfish, whereas Simon is selfish, Marius is selfless, and he is super helpful. And that is now my first point. Sorry, my point for my second paragraph. So I've got my P, I've got my E, I've got my E, and I've got my E. That is now the question planned. I now know what I'm using from both sources. From source B, that is what I'm using. And from source A, that is what I'm using. Now, all I gotta do, guys, is I gotta turn what I've written into a paragraph that is making sense. Now, I'll do one paragraph, guys. I'll do one paragraph as an exemplar. And then if you're following at home, you can maybe do the second one if you wish to. Now, a lot of you guys are commenting, well, not a lot of you, some of you guys are commenting saying, sir, type up the answer, don't do it by hand. Guys, the reason I do it by hand is because I want my work to be as realistic as possible. Your exams are not done by computer. Your exams are done by hand. So there's no point in me typing up a fancy answer if I can't do that with a pen and a paper. So I just want to make it as realistic as possible. So when you're following at home, you can see how you live model a response. So guys, let's begin. So let's go back over the question, guys. The question says, write a summary of what I understand between the differences between Simon and Marius. Okay. In source A and source B, both Simon and Marius are presented in contrasting ways. Simon in source A is presented, comes across as extremely selfish and unhelpful. This, one second, guys, let me just label it up for you guys just so you can follow. So that's my point. That's my point now complete. And now in the entire paragraph, I'm going to summarize how Mr. Simon is super duper selfish and super duper unhelpful. This can be seen. Now let's change the wording, guys. This is first seen. Okay, where is it first seen? Where's my first quote from? My first quote, guys. Okay, it's quite a long quote, so I'm not going to copy it down. Guys, quite a long quote, so I'm not going to copy it down. So I'm going to refer to the lines. I'm going to refer to the lines. This can be first seen. Oops, this can be first seen on lines 10 to 11. All right, there's my reference. Well, there's my evidence. This can be first seen on lines 10 to 11. Oh, why am I looking at that? Okay, and in this one, guys, Simon lets us slide despite the cries of alarm and pain. He kept the pace going. Okay, this can be first seen on lines 10 to 11, where Simon completely ignores where Simon completely ignores the lack of experience of the other climbers and how nervous and afraid they must feel. Instead, he works at his own pace. At his own ability, disregarding the other inexperienced character. Okay, guys, that's my first E. Guys, that's my first, that's my first I. That's my first inference. So I've done my first P. P-E-I, I've done my first P. Now I move on to my second quote. My second quote is, howling and screaming to stop achieved nothing. Let's carry on, guys. Now I want to use language that shows my points are linked. This selfishness is further shown when, guys, what's the quote? This is when howling and screaming for Simon to stop achieve nothing. When we learn that howling and screaming for Simon to stop achieved nothing. That is my second evidence. And let's do my last one, guys. Let's do my last one. So I've got P, E, I, E, and now, guys, I'm gonna up it up a notch. In the first one, he just does things at his own pace. But in the second one, he completely ignores the pain and the suffering and the danger felt by the other characters. So let's do it, guys. Let's do it. This selfishness is further shown when we learn that howling and screaming for Simon to stop achieved nothing. He not only works at his own pace, he works with a merciless attitude. No matter what the other climbers feel, suffer, and endure, Simon is fixated on achieving his personal goals. All right, guys, and I will stop it there. Now, there is a big P on the page. P-E-I-E-I-E-I. Well, actually, that's twice. But guys, there is an example of a P paragraph. Now, all I would do, guys, is I would then begin my second paragraph with on the other hand, and then I would P all over the page one more time. Let's have a look, guys. In source A and source B, both Simon and Marius are presented in contrasting ways. Simon in source A comes across extremely selfish and unhelpful. This is first seen in lines 10 to 11, where Simon completely ignores the lack of experience of the other climbers and how nervous and afraid they must feel. Instead, he works at his own pace, at his own ability, disregarding the other inexperienced character. This selfishness, disregarding the guys, I'm going to change this, disregarding the inexperience of the other character. This selfishness is further shown when we learn that howling and screaming for Simon to stop achieve nothing. He not only works at his own pace, he works with a merciless attitude. No matter what the other climbers feel, suffer and endure, Simon is fixated on achieving his personal goals. That is source A summarized and Simon summarized. Now I move on to source B, and because they have asked me for differences, I begin with on the other hand, and all I would do, guys, is I would P on the page one more time using these over here. Where is it, guys? Using these over here as the basis of my paragraph. And that is how you answer source A. Question. Guys, that is how you answer question number 2 for paper 2. Now, do you have to bounce back and forth? Do you have to bounce back and forth? No, you don't. I've always taught, and if you look at model answers, guys, there is no need to bounce back and forth, because in this question, there is not an expectation to compare the sources. When AQA want you to compare, for example, in paper 2, question 4, they tell you compare. In this question, all we've been asked to do is write a summary of Simon and a summary of Marius in how they are different. That is why in paragraph 1, we talk about Simon, and in paragraph 2, we talk about Marius, and we summarize how they are both different. All right, guys, and that is paper 2, question number 2. Now, next video, guys, we are looking at paper 2, question 3. So please do keep an eye out for that video. If you're following this series, guys, please do practice these questions. So what I've just done, guys, go through different sources, pick out your quotes, plan your paragraphs, and try to produce 2 paragraphs in 10 minutes. All right, guys, I'll end the video here. Thank you so much for your support. As always, it's been Mr. Everything English. Peace.